Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our next session of Ask Masters. I hope I am audible and the videos are clear. If someone could just comment in our chat section if we are audible, great. So it's dot 6 and we are ready to start for our session for today. As you all are aware, the topic for today is GST on imports and exports. And today we have a person who is, I could say personally because I know him, that he knows the law in and out, and he's going to be the right person to answer your questions and give you insights on this topic. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the session of Ask Masters. Sir, I think you're on mute, sir. If you can.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So our speaker for today is CA M. Narasimha Das Pai. He's a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for more than 2 decades now. In the past, he has chaired the finance operations at Semox Solutions Private Limited as a chief financial officer. He was also the executive director of 3 Achal companies and the general manager at Achal Industries. So being professionally so well versed, he is not taken a back seat when it comes to social work. Recently, he was elected as the president of the Chinmaya Educational Institutions, and there is a lot more to his accolades. He is a member of the National Council of the Indian Society of Training and Development and a Toastmaster for the last 18 years. It's been an honor to be a fellow Toastmaster with you, sir, and I'm looking forward to this session today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. So as you all are aware, our topic for today is GST on exports and imports. So, sir, is there some opening remarks you would like to give about why this topic is important, or why is this the time to discuss about this particular topic right now?
Good evening, all, and thank you, Saudamini, for that introduction. And it's a pleasure to be associated with Masters India. Yeah, basically, GST on imports and exports is something different from what we do within the sales and purchases happening in India or supplies happening in India. Why? Because it is not only the GST department which comes in, the customs come in, the banking system, the RBI comes in because the money transaction happens in foreign currency. So there is the requirement of compliances with these departments are also kind of bundled into this to make it a special topic for us as imports and exports.
Okay. Okay. So as you are aware, we have shared a sheet with our audience for asking questions. So we have had a lot of questions, and today's session, I thought let's focus on the questions what we have received.
Okay.
So let's get started with the questions directly of what our audience wants, and probably I think if you miss out something somewhere, you can add on to it.
Sure.
Okay. So when we can start with, so the basic thing what anyone would like to know is what are the preliminary requirements to undertake import-export transactions when we are talking about the GST law in specific.
Okay. See, if let's talk basically on exports. GST exports can happen in 2 ways. In the sense, you can do it with payment of GST or under LUT, letter of undertaking. So those are the basic two streams of export transaction and GST. So when I say letter of undertaking, LUT is documentation what you do online these days, and you do not pay any tax while doing this transaction. Second part, what I mentioned is GST with the payment of GST or with payment of IGST, because exports are taken as interstate supplies. So when you are doing an export transaction, the IGST is applicable. So when the second method, when we do an export under tax payment, that is IGST payment, it is a different stream. 2 major streams are there in exports under GST.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, okay, when you mention about this LUT and payment of IGST part of it, so before that, I have a question. So, which are the forms which are involved here? Are there any particular kinds of forms which are involved here?
Basically, the invoice requirement as to the GST law. Somebody is unmute. Yeah. Basically, the invoicing requirements under the GST law. There is the invoicing requirement. What all things have to be mentioned in an invoice format is already mentioned. That has to be followed. Second, on the custom side, when you file the invoice for export with the customs, the shipping bill generation.
Okay.
Shipping bill gets generated, and once the transaction happens, the shipping bill comes to us for accounting purposes. These are the two major documents in export. When you come to imports, it is again the invoice what you receive from the supplier of yours, and then something called a bill of entry, which is filed at the time of clearing the cargo for home consumption.
Okay. 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 So now when you're talking about this, right now the focus right now we started with, let's talk about exports, you said. So now the
Okay, yeah.
exporter also has to purchase raw materials.
Yes.
So can exporters purchase goods without payment of tax on furnishing of a declaration in form? That's the LUT part of it. So is there anything more to it, basically?
I mean, you mean an exporter buys or gets supplies from some other guy and exports it? You mean to say that?
So
It's kind of merchant trading. I mean,
yeah,
merchant
but
export.
without payment of tax, basically. Exporters purchase goods without payment of tax.
In GST, there is nothing like that basically,
Okay.
because GST you have to, while purchasing, you have to pay GST on the purchase what you do. There is a specific provision where a merchant exporter can buy at 0.1% GST. But there are some certain conditions, because he has to buy it. There should be a documentation, there should be an agreement or a contract between him and the supplier, and he cannot get input tax credit when he exports that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The input tax credit, there are a lot of questions, so we will cover it a little later. But
Yes.
probably there is one more question which is connected to this. That's about the forex rates. So we know that there is always going to be fluctuation in the rates. So how are we going to record this rates? So probably when the transaction is happening or when there is remittance, how are we going to record these fluctuations, which could be gains or losses?
Yes. Yeah, let me explain this in a form of a transaction. Let's say you are exporting a material, a goods, for $100. So at the time of filing the shipping bill, the rate is as per the customs rate. So let's take it for an example, it's 72 rupees per dollar. So your shipping bill is filed for 7,200 rupees. So that comes or becomes the turnover or the sales value in your book. Okay. After a week, you receive that remittance from your buyer abroad. At that time, let's assume the rate of exchange is say 75 rupees. So in reality, what has happened? You have exported goods worth 7,200. I'm talking about Indian rupees, and you have received 7,500 as a remittance. So how you should account for that is 7,200 received as shown from the particular customer, and 300 rupees what you get, it becomes a exchange gain for you. So it can be other way also. Like, you export at that time, the customs rate is 72 rupees. But when the remittance comes, it becomes 70 rupees. You may end up with a loss also. Yeah. So that is accounted separately.
But now this is the accounting perspective of it. Like,
Yes.
what is it when you obviously have to record the export transactions in your GST returns. So that time,
Correct.
what is the rate what we are considering? What is the rate
That
we
is
should
the shipping
record?
bill rate. That's the shipping bill rate, what is coming on the shipping.
Okay, so there it is a
Yes.
shipping bill rate. So the
Yes.
fluctuations, like the gains and losses, will not actually be recorded in the GST forms what we are filing, basically.
Exactly. It will be shown as fluctuation in gains and losses from foreign currency.
Okay, okay. So I see a lot of questions in the chat box. We are glad that you all are sharing a lot of questions. We will take this
Yeah.
up at the end of the session. We'll finish off a few more questions which we have in queue right now. The next question what we have is, so the general conception of what people have is zero rated supplies are same as exports. But
No,
I feel
actually,
that there is something different. It is not as it is. So what is this concept of zero rated supply? How is it different from exports or exempted supplies, like multiple
Yeah.
heads?
Basically, the zero rating is meant that the entire value chain of the supply is exempt from tax.
Okay.
Entire value chain. That is, in case of zero rating, not only is the output exempt from payment of tax, there is no bar on availing credit of taxes paid on the input side for providing the output supplies. That is, you buy something at a particular rate of GST, but your output is zero. So it is zero rated. Exports is a zero rated supply, basically. When you are doing it in LUT, it is a zero rated supply. And you show it under your GST return as also zero rated supply. But when you are paying IGST and exporting, for accounting purposes, it is shown as, tax is shown, and we'll talk about the refund little later. I will not confuse you at the moment.
Okay. So basically, I understand that every zero rated supply is not an export, but every export is a zero rated supply.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So then, how is zero? I think you already said, but if you can just throw a little more light on how is a zero-rated supply different from an exempt supply?
Exempt supply, direct example can be the things which are not under GST. For example, alcohol for human consumption or petroleum products. All those things are totally exempt. They don't come under GST taxability at all. Though they come under part as the aggregate turnover of the person, but they are exempt under GST. Whereas zero-rated supplies are these export supplies or supplies to SEZ units.
Okay. So fine. So now here, when we are talking about import exports, and you mentioned about some places where we can pay the IGST and export.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how is the ITC concept applicable here? So can we take the credit there, or is the credit not available?
It is. See, when I told you initially, there are two types of export: the LUT and the tax payment. Two ways you can do. So let's talk about the tax payment part. So if you are raising an invoice for export under tax payment, IGST payment, then you make that invoice and submit to the customs. That IGST payment is recorded on your shipping bill. It comes as a part of the shipping bill. So he says so much of your value of the good, so much is IGST. Once that is generated on shipping bill, it gets into the ICE gate. ICE gate is the customs where all the procedures happen with regard to export and import. So there, once it is registered, what happens? Exports are zero rated, but you are shown it as tax payment. So the customs will pass a refund to your, to your account, which is registered with the customs for IEC purposes on the side, and you get the refund of that particular tax directly into your bank account.
Okay. So it more of the thing relates to the refunds part of it here.
Yes.
Okay. So when you're telling about refunds, what are the provisions for refunds? Like, how can people, if they want to claim for a refund, how can they claim? What is the form they have to file, or what are the procedures they have to follow for refund? Because here you said something which is a process which happens.
Correct.
Someone wants to initiate the refund process.
Yes. So once that, one refund is by paying IGST and getting in directly from customs. That is one part of it. Another part of it is you have a huge ITC available in your books of accounts. Okay. And you are exporting under LUT.
Okay.
LUT is without payment of tax.
Okay.
So once that is done, there is a format to be followed. There is a calculation in proportion allowed, ITC and other things. There is it's a lengthy process because it will take a lot of time to explain on this session. So once that is done, you have to file for your refund on the GST portal itself with the required document. They will ask you for your shipping bill. They will ask you for your invoice copies. They will ask you for your ITC invoices. There is input tax statements. All those things, and then you can get a refund. That is a cash refund from your input tax credit available in your ledger. Yeah.
Okay. So if I summarize that, that means that unutilized input tax credit can be claimed as refund.
Yes, correct.
In brief,
Correct.
like unutilized
Exactly.
credit will always be claimed as refund by the exporters.
Yes, yes. But there are some conditions. You can't claim 100% refund.
Okay.
There are certain conditions. Yeah, there are certain.
Okay, great. Okay. So the next question we have is about the advances on export exchange contracts. So if you can give a brief understanding of what these contracts are and how is GST applicable here?
I didn't get the question. I mean, in the sense, the buyer gives you an advance payment.
Advances on export exchange contracts. If
Okay.
I'm
I presume that, as I understand, it is an advance you receive from your buyer from abroad, right?
Hmm.
So, I mean, actually, when you are receiving an advance, there is no taxability. There is no taxability. There is no taxability on advance receipts.
Okay, so it is not taxable.
Not taxable. I mean, some time back there was some law. Initially they did it, then after that they kept it aside so that because it was having a lot of confusion on implementation part. In the sense, advances received that we had to offer for taxation. Then when the balance comes, total GST minus GST paid on advance, all those adjustments were not happening so easily. So they
Okay.
have kind of kept it aside at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So as of now, there is no tax on the advances in
Advance. Yeah.
the summarize. Okay.
Yes.
Now, this is something which is personally a doubt for me. Confusing aspect for me as well. When we talk about SEZs, DTAs, and exports.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
how are these transactions different from each other? And deemed exports, we sometimes hear the concept of deemed exports. So, if you can just throw light on all these SEZs, DTAs, deemed exports, and regular exports, and what is the GST applicability here?
Hmm. Yeah, basically, SE supplies to SEZ are like exports. So
Supplies
again, you
to
can
SEZ. So, anything
yeah,
sent to an SEZ.
yes, supplies to SEZ or SEC developers. It is
Okay.
both. Yeah. It is like it is a foreign territory kind of thing. So whenever you do a export or a supply to SEZ, it is an export. So there is
Okay.
a similar documentation we need to follow. In the sense, you can do it under LUT with zero rate, or charge tax on the invoice to the supplies to the SEZ and claim refund if the input tax is available. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
So now you said about two SEZ. What about from SEZ?
From SEZ is a similar thing in the sense you'll have to file a bill of entry at the commissioner there and get it out and receive it as import by paying if there is any duty has to be paid, you'll have to pay duty on that. Yeah,
Okay. So now
yeah.
there's one more concept of DTA here, right? So when I was like reading about it, there are special provisions. Correct me if I'm wrong. There are special provisions for transactions between SEZs and DTAs. Is there
Okay.
anything specific about that?
No, because basically the SEZ DTA units are liable for GSTs. SEZ
Okay.
to DTA, SEZ to DTA are liable for GST, and
Okay.
there is again two types. Supply under bill of entry or without bill of entry. When
Okay.
under bill of entry, it is the supplies made by SEZ on cover of bill of entry shall be reported to DTA units in this GSTR 3B.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And supplies without bill of entry, it will come on the SEZ units GSTR 1. So automatically it comes to your return as purchases.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we right now have a practical case here which someone has asked, which says
Huh.
an SEZ unit in Mumbai avails hotel accommodation in Goa, whether such supply is intrastate or interstate supply.
Uh, okay, Mumbai, but they go to Goa and have a program there, and the bill is given by
An
Goa to
SEZ unit in
Mumbai.
Mumbai avails hotel accommodation in Goa.
Okay. Yeah, that becomes an interstate supply. Interstate supply.
Interstate.
Because
Okay.
there is a specific provision with regard to that. So the
Okay.
specific provision takes precedence over the general provision. So it becomes an interstate supply.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Now, one more thing is here: can a person opting for composition scheme make a supply of goods to SEZ?
Not really, because the composition dealer cannot do interstate sale. So when you say supply to SEZ is an interstate sale, so he's not eligible to do that.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
not eligible. Great.
not eligible.
Next thing is, what is the refund mechanism when a DTA supplier supplies goods or services to an SEZ unit?
Refunds, similar thing what I mentioned in the earlier case. If you are paying it with the zero rate taxes, zero rate, then you have unused ITC, then file for cash refund from the department. Or
Okay.
if you have charge tax, then go for the export related refund. Similar, like the export I mentioned in the earlier incident. Yeah.
Okay, 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 okay. I think there's a similar question. Okay, we'll take up all the questions together at the end, the audience questions.
Sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay. So then here, when you're telling me this, there's something more about the whether a DTA supplier has to furnish a bond or a LUT while supplying goods or services without payment of integrated tax. If yes, to whom this should be submitted?
Yeah, without payment of tax, it has to submit a bond or LUT, but it has to be submitted to the jurisdictional deputy or assistant commissioner having jurisdiction over the principal place of business of the exporter. That is the person who is an DTA.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so now here there's now when we spoke about SEZs, we spoke about DTAs, we spoke about exports or deemed exports. There is something, one more thing which adds on is the export-oriented units.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, whether there is, I understand that before the pre-GST era, there were certain exemptions to the export-oriented units.
Correct.
Now, are these exemptions still available after GST was introduced, or how is the taxability there with the EOUs?
No, even basically the duty exemption continues even now from whatever was there earlier. Duty
Okay.
exemption, customs duty basically prevailing before GST regime with the, I mean, I can give you the notification 52/2003, 31/3/2003 continues even now. The imports into EOU are to be levied IGST, because the customs duty is exempt, but IGST has to be levied when the imports happen into EOU units.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, would you like to add anything else, or so?
No, because they were, yeah, I mean, how were part of the they were
Okay.
exempt till 31st of March 2019, the IGST
Okay.
part of it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. 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 So can these EOUs take input tax credit of the IGST paid on imports?
Yes, they can.
They
They
can
can.
take
They
out
can.
credit.
They can. They can. They can. Because
And
for all the purposes, input tax credit can be taken by them.
okay. And what about the refunds?
Refunds also they can try it out. Whatever unused input tax credit is there, in the sense when they do outward supply and there is a tax liability, after the reduction of that particular supply, they can definitely take it. Not
Okay. So now, till now, we have spoken more about exports. Our focus has been on exports.
correct.
I personally believe that imports is a topic which is not covered to a larger extent in many places. So, if
Correct.
you could tell our viewers about how is GST impacting the import part of it. So, how are import tax under GST basically?
Imports are considered as interstate supplies.
Okay.
I told you about. So, and it is taxed at the customs gate. Once you're filing the bill of entry when the imports happen, the duty component is calculated and comes on the bill of entry, and also the IGST on that also comes in the bill of entry. So
Okay.
that is available for you, for the importer, as input tax credit for whatever outward supply he has.
Okay. So I understand that imports has got its own set of I think custom duties are applicable, and there are other taxes which are applicable. So GST was introduced with the idea that there should not be a cascading effect of taxes. But
Correct.
now, do you think there is a cascade? Still, there is a cascading effect of taxes with the other duties which are levied on the imports?
No, because the customs duty will remain.
Okay.
Customs duty will remain. Like, customs duty, BCD or social welfare charges or any other ad valorem, any CBD and all, it will remain. That will be a cost to the company. But on that, whatever IGST is paid at the time of filing the bill of entry, that is available as an input tax credit to the importer.
Okay, okay, okay. And are these duties to be recorded anywhere in our GST returns?
Not really, not really. Duties, customs duties don't find a place in.
Okay, okay. And now again, when we spoke about exports, we spoke about the valuation part of it. So here, what valuation is to be adopted for leaving the integrated tax and compensation cess?
Valuation for the purpose of assessable value of article, import value of say, for example, let us take you are importing something worth 100 rupees. Okay.
Okay.
On that, there is a basic custom duty of say 10 rupees. So 100 plus 10. And social welfare is about 1% of the custom, 1% of the value, but 10% of the custom duty. That is again 1 rupee. So you come to a value of 111 rupees for IGST calculation.
Okay.
On that, you calculate IGST at 18%, 12%, whatever, depending on the item. Yeah, yeah. And it is very important here to mention that HSN code, mentioning of HSN code for each of the product is very, very important, because the duty structure and the tax structure both are aligned to HSN codes. So that is very important to have HSN codes mentioned in each and every document which is moving in the GST regime.
Okay, okay, okay. Next thing what we have is about if you can explain the tax treatment of goods imported into India and deposited in a warehouse and sold while they are in the warehouse before clearance from customs.
Okay. Basically, once it comes into India and is in the customs warehouse, it is still not enter the Indian frontiers, I would say. Because unless you file a bill of entry for home consumption, it does not move into the tax net. So the tax happens when you clear, what happens as the goods arrive at the port, you file for bond, your customs warehouse. And once you release from the customs warehouse, you file a bill of entry for home consumption. At that moment, the taxation is applicable and the duty is also applicable.
Okay.
Yeah. If continuing with that, if being in the, there is something called high seas transaction happening. Like, the goods are coming in, A is importing it. So B wants to buy it from A before it reaches the customs. So that is also possible. And once that happens, that a high sea sale happens from A to B, B is the one who files the bill of entry. So he becomes the importer on bill of entry with the mention of the high seas transaction happening, with proper documentation for high seas. There is the invoice to be raised and other things. I will not talk the details. I will not mention the details here. Once that is done, the B files the bill of entry and he imports. So he gets to pay the customs duty, whatever is applicable, and the IGST what he pays, and he's the one who gets credit for the IGST what he pays on that import file.
Okay, I get it. Okay, okay. And like there are certain transactions which work on the lease concept, like maybe aircrafts or plant and machinery are imported on lease. So at that time, how is GST levied here?
At the time of import, you are importing it for lease, right? On lease, like aircrafts come in lease. So at that time, there is no IGST. But on the lease rentals, what you remit, there is a IGST paid. So there, some documentation requirements has to happen. On that basis, the GST on lease rental only is payable, not on the import of that particular plant and machinery or aircraft.
Okay. Okay. And what about bona fide gifts?
Yeah, if you are giving bona fide gifts imported through post or air or courier or something like that, up to 5,000, there is no problem. There is no problem. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now, this is something which is in news, and probably most of us are aware about the e-invoicing applicability.
Yeah.
Yeah, so 500 crores is businesses with over 500 crores turnover had to go live from 1st October, and over 100 crores have to go live from 1st of January. Now, export transactions are also kind of transactions which are coming under the purview of e-invoicing. So if you could just throw some light about what are the implications of e-invoicing on the export transactions.
Yeah, e-invoicing is applicable when you come under the net of 500 crores, 100 crores, whatever as per this thing. But remember, the turnover is aggregate turnover. For example, if a person is dealing, say, basically these petrol pumps, he has a chain of petrol pumps and his turnover is 150 crores. And in that 150 crores, his petroleum, diesel and petrol, what he sells in the petrol pumps is say 140 crores. Actually, that is not coming under GST. It is exempt goods under GST. But his aggregate turnover is 120 plus another 10 crores or lubricants or any other things that distill water or whatever he sells in the petrol pump. It totals up to 150 crores. So at that time, it is applicable. If he is selling this lubricants for a B2B transaction, B2C it is not applicable. When he is selling it to B2B transactions, then he has to generate e-invoicing. Okay, coming back to the exports e-invoicing, it is necessary that you have to generate e-invoicing for export also, and the same thing has to be followed. The streams, I mean, whatever, like you find the details to invoice registration, IRP, invoice registration portal, then get the QR code, then get the number, then get the details, then it is digitally signed and it comes to you. Then you incorporate the details and file. Generate the invoices. It has to be followed.
Since we are running short on time, we have already crossed 6:30 and we have a lot of questions. I will keep the next few questions short. There is one more question on: can duty credit scripts received as an incentive by exporters such as MEIS, SEIS, etc., be utilized for payment of all duties at the time of import?
No, customs duties only you can credit. In the sense, you have a MEIS, that is a duty credit what you receive. It can be taken credit for customs duty payment only, not for IGST. IGST has to be paid on bill of entry. IGST mentioned on the bill of entry has to be paid in cash to the customs at the time of clearance.
Okay.
Credit is only for duty, not for IGST.
Okay. Okay, so we have some questions on the chat box. I will start picking them up so we can answer them. The first question is from Mr. Rajesh, who asks us, can we claim IGST refund through, though we have exports under LUT? If yes, what is the procedure? Please explain.
Can we claim IGST refund though we have exports under LUT? Yes. Yeah, you can definitely unutilize IGST, and with the conditions that whatever input material what you use has been used for export of your goods, you can definitely claim. As I mentioned earlier, you need to file the refund online, but certain documentation has to be done because your IGST has to be validated, whether allowed, disallowed IGST is there, that has to be removed. Then only you can file it, and it is possible to file.
We hope your question is answered, Mr. Rajesh. Next, we have from Nazia. What action can be taken when the invoices are validated at iScape portal, but customs side there is no scroll generation created?
I think this happens when there is a mismatch in certain things, like maybe the export invoice number what you have put in. Even a dash and a dot or a slash makes a difference. One zero extra here and there makes a difference. Because once you're filing GSTR1, you have to take care that you exactly match the details as per the shipping bill, even if there is an error in shipping bill. Because customs, the shipping bills are at times very difficult to read. I don't know how many of you have really seen the printouts. Now they have improved, but some time back they were really bad because they used to print it on dot matrix. So that has to match exactly. Then this problem will not. And one more addition, Nadia, you can get the error report on the GST portal. Get the error report. There are error codes for that. Identify which code is shown for that particular invoice. Then try to amend that in the next GSTR filing happens.
Okay. So Nazia has asked us another question. What if validation also has been done successfully?
Sorry, validation?
But what if validation is also done successfully?
Validation by, I'm not able to get that.
Nazia, if you can throw some more, if you can give us some more clarity, that will be helpful. So by the time Nazia types, let's proceed to the next question, sir. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So that the next question is from Mr. Rajesh. So Mr. Bhaskar, can we do export transactions same month both with LUT and IGST payment?
Not really, because I mean, you can do. There is no harm in it, but you can better you have it for a tax period to have ease of if there is any refund to be filed, it happens for a tax period. So better to follow a tax period. Tax period is a month. So maybe from 1 month you start that, and the next month you can go for LUT. Next month you can go for IGST. But very important, maybe I will throw some light on the LUT filing. LUT filing is online, and once it is filed, you can start using that acknowledgement number mentioning export made on LUT on your export invoices, and you can go ahead. Because once it is filed, it is deemed to be accepted. But if for any reason, if the documentation is not enough or you are not eligible for LUT, the department rejects it, then the rejection comes from ab initio, that is from the day you had filed. So you can't say, I filed it today, I did exports at zero rate and something like that. It happens, it comes back to the day it was filed. That you need to take care.
I hope the question is answered, Mr. Bhaskar. Next, we have another question from Mr. Rajesh, who's talking about deem exports. We are suppliers and we feel it's a very surprise when GST officer said to our customer that Form A will be used for full year for all our consignments. I feel it's wrong because Form A cover various informations like quantity and value, etc., which may be different to his next consignment. Was this correct?
I'm not able to get the question.
Mr. Rajesh, if you could give us more clarity on that while we proceed for the next question. Next, we have from Mr. Rohan, who's talking about third country exports. If he imports some material in India and file the warehouse bill of entry and material store at custom bonded warehouse and then directly export to third country from bonded warehouse, in that case, we can clear this under duty paid or LUT. Please confirm.
So if we import some material in India and file the warehouse bill of entry and the material store at customs bonded warehouse, okay, and then directly export the third country from bonded warehouse, in that case, can we clear this under duty paid or duty? Duty paid or tax paid? Duty and not able to.
I think he means tax paid or LUT.
Yeah, I mean, since it is, yeah, somebody, did he correct it?
IGST paid or
IGST paid.
LUT?
Yeah, IGST paid or LUT. Yeah, you can do it both ways. If you are under LUT, you can do it under zero. If you are opting for IGST payment, you can go for IGST payment. It is your choice.
I hope your
Because
question
shipping
is
will have to
answered,
be paid
Mr.
by. Yeah, yeah, he
Yeah,
replied.
I
Okay.
think he's convinced with the answer. Next, Mr. Rajesh has asked us for have another session on deemed exports. Sure, we will take it up. So you're already booked for our next session. Yeah, we will let you know when we have next.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but anyways, let's proceed with
Because
the
I will
next
tell you,
question.
this export, talking about GST export on half an hour is highly impossible. Actually, to read something only you need 2 days on this, and half an hour is very very short. And whatever we are able to do, I'm just giving you more of practical things rather than theoretical part.
Yes. Now we have another question from Nazia itself. At times it happens that data is transmitted successfully, but GST to IceGate, but record doesn't appear in validation tab of IceGate. What can be the reason and what are the actions to be taken?
The transfer successfully GST to iState, but record doesn't appear at validation. Madam, if your details, what you have filed in your GST return and the iState details are matching, they will automatically take because it is machine matching. It is not human matching. I repeat again, you must have missed one dot or one dash or something like that. Even a space will make a difference. So I would suggest that needs to be taken care because I have come across cases where you do it again, but there was an error. Do it again third time, so it happened because it is what we are doing in GSTR1 is individual, manual punching. So it do happen at times. So I think the entry point, if you take care, rest of the things will automatically happen.
Next one is some shipping bill data. We want to correct some shipping bill data in export 6A table related to financial year 17-18. So is it possible to amend now?
17-18, no.
Not
17-18,
possible.
no.
Okay.
Because if you have done your audit report filing at that time, you could have done that. But I don't think, because there you could have given a reconciliation statement and could have done that. Yeah.
Okay. What is the remedy if we have filed shipping bill with GST of Maharashtra? However, there is GST of Gujarat on tax invoice. How we can correlate to get GST?
No, sir, because it is Maharashtra and Gujarat are totally different, and I think you won't be able to get the refund easily in that, because shipping bill has a different number, GST number. Your invoice has a different GST number. I don't think it will match because it is a totally a different login what you are using. That's what I understand.
Okay. Okay. Next from Mr. Carvel. So we have already answered the question on the scripts. If you have any more questions, you can write in. Next is from Mr. Bhaskar. Seller is from India, goods sourced outside India, and delivery at outside India. Applicability of GST.
No, this happens as a merchant trading in the sense it is from one A country to B country, but you are C in India. It is no applicability of GST on that. Yeah. It is called merchant trading, MTT.
Okay. Okay. Next is IGST paid on import of goods comes under the advanced tax or RCM?
Not RCM. I mean, import of goods is a IGST input credit, not advance or RCM. I mean, yeah, you can take it as advance tax also because you have paid it in advance. In output, you can adjust this input. So you can term it as advance, but advance tax, you can't call it as advance tax.
Is an
It's
input
an
tax
input
term.
tax.
Yeah.
It's an input tax. It's an input tax.
Yeah. Okay. How to record and whom to inform about GST matters if imports are subject to export under input, output, and value addition norms?
How to record and who to inform about GST matter. If import are subject to export. Input output norms, do you mean DFIA or something like that? Because GST doesn't come in that picture of when you're dealing with DGFT office or DFIA.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I
if you
think
are
he has
selling
responded.
DFIA, did he say something on that? Yes,
He said
DFIA.
yes, DFIA. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if you are importing at a DFIA, the customs duty only is adjusted against your DFIA eligibility, and IGST on import you need to pay. You need to pay.
Next, we have from Mr. Akshay. While filing RFD 1A, invoice number and SBI and EGM are to be uploaded. In case of exports on courier mode, what is to be filed in SB and EGM columns? Without that, the RFD 1 does not proceed.
While filing RFD on invoice number and SBI, in case of export on courier mode, what is to be filed in the SBI? But if you are exporting on courier mode, there is a shipping bill available for you, no? You have the shipping bill on courier. You can use that.
He says no, there is no shipping bill available.
Then what is the basis of getting the remittance for the exports? I think we need to discuss one separately because I asked something he gives there. Akshay, at the end of the session, we'll share the number. You can you can send a mail. I will definitely reply. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that would be more helpful
Yes, yes,
to
definitely.
Mr. Akshay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have two more questions. We'll take that up and then
Okay.
we will wind up for the day.
Sure, sure.
We have overshot our time. Okay,
Yeah.
so the next one is when GSTR1 is filed, we get the following message every month. Non-transmission of invoice due to negative balance. what needs to be done here? I think this is a general GST question.
Yeah. I think we will. Ask.
Mr. Damodar, we will get in touch with you offline for this, or you can write to the email address what is shared. We'll pick up the questions more specific to exports right now. One more is for import of software which just happens online, customs duty, social welfare is not paid. How is IGST calculated?
Imports, it's an import service. I mean, why do you say that IGST is not applicable? When you are offering that, you has to apply, and you have to pay it on RCM basis for IGST for certain software. I need to go into the specific details on that.
Next is one more question. We'll just complete Nadia's question, what she was asking that time. She said
Yeah,
the
for
validation.
example, sorry. Yeah, I was talking to Anand. He said, "How do you calculate IGST?" He says, for example, if you are buying something like AWS or some what shall I say, G Suite or something like that, it has to be on RCM basis. You have to calculate the IGST and pay it on RCM. Yeah, sorry.
Can I proceed?
Yeah.
There's one more. I think he's convinced. Looks like he's convinced.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so the last question. Let's close with Nazia's question, which was she clarified that validation is done successfully with SB code is validated and without any error on the IceGate portal.
No, I think it is error number SP000. That's what
Yes,
she
that's
says,
what
right?
she said.
Yeah. I think you'll have to look at the IGST status report on why that error come. Yeah. I have a clarification online. I can share it with you. How can I share it with them? There's a one-page thing. I can read the whole thing.
Okay, what I will do is I will share your email address on the chat so they
Yes.
can write to you, and as a reply, you can always reply. Nazia, you can do that. I will share sir's email address and contact number. You can write to him and get the details, whatever are required.
Yes,
Okay,
give me a day or two for reply. This week a little tight. Maybe next week I'll reply.
Yeah, great. Sure. So I am just sharing your details here. We have crossed our time, but it looks like we have had a great session. I hope the session was useful and helpful to all our attendees. We have had a great audience. Sir, thank you so much for giving your time and actually answering, because this question was more than anything. It was answering a lot of questions what people have in their mind, and it really made a difference. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Saudamini, for the opportunity, and thanks to Master India for this opportunity. Thank you for all the attendees who asked the questions. She has shared the number and my email. You can send the email. I will definitely reply to the specific questions with more details, or if I need anything extra, I will definitely ask. And crunching this in 30 minutes is a real challenge, but we have done it. Hope it has been helpful to all of you. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much. This session will be available on YouTube and all the social handles of Masters India, the recorded version of it. So you all can have a look of it there. And I'm glad this was very helpful. I look forward to having you all for the next session of Ask Masters. I will keep you all informed about when it is. So till then, stay home, stay safe, and thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Pleasure.